So good evening. It's a real joy to continue our adventure in discovering the first Psalms of the Psalter. And uh, do not hesitate to put on chat any of your questions. And Ivona, who is here, will interrupt me or at the end summarize what questions there are. But it's your questions are always maybe what makes things most interesting. So let me go directly now to share to you on the screen the Psalm 8, which we're going to study tonight. And so let me first remind where we are. So as you see in the top here, ascent and descent of the first mountain of the Psalter, Psalms 1 to 15. And we have highlighted in green the Psalms, including tonight's, which are already studied. And as you see on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going up the mountain. And it's a very beautiful story which we're unveiling. And so let me try and resume. Today we're going to look at Psalm 4, as you see in the bottom of the screen. And so we had the introductory Psalm 1, calling to meditate the Torah day and night. And that psalm is sort of a preface to the great Psalm 2, in which we have the Messiah consecrated, begotten of the Father, sent by the Father to the kings and princes who are rebellious, and beautifully gives them 5 counsels of wisdom. And then last week we had Psalm 3, which, when we look carefully, is here you see on the screen, salvific persevering under persecution. It's a first prayer that we could say a prayer of the Messiah. And it's a prayer which precisely he's incarnating the mission he has received in Psalm 2. We saw that last week. But with Psalm 3, the prayer of his mission is not finished. Psalm 4 is complementary to Psalm 3. And we have this, in Psalm 4, we have common vocabulary with Psalm 3. And so, for example, the couple, fry and answer, is in Psalm 3, verse 5, and Psalm 4, verse 2. The lie down and sleep is in 3, verse 6, and 4, verse 9. And then the Psalm 3 starts with many, many, many. Right? And so, and Psalm 4 also has many, many, the same word. And so we see it's the same it's the same person behind both psalms. And this prayer, Psalm 4, is intermingled with exhortation to this rebellious mankind, which we've met in Psalm 2 and in Psalm 3 already. But what's specific about this prayer, which we haven't had before, it's a prayer transparent of both humble and divine confidence. And at the same time, absolute authority to judge mankind. And here we have this expression, which we're going to see right away, where the Messiah says, my glory, in the first person. My glory, where are we? You belittle my glory. And his mouth is speaking in the name of God. And so, but at the same time, he's this humble, praying man, and that receives from his Father incomparable eschatological joy. We're going to see that. And which he desires to communicate his beatitude to his hearers, but he is rejected. And this is, we can think very much of Jesus as he was not understood as the Messiah. We already have a premise of this beautifully in this psalm. Why? Because men pursue idolatry. So, seeking visible signs. We want to see, we want to touch. We're not content with faith. But the last general remark I want to say is that as the author of this psalm, the one who's praying, right, does not shun like prophets when they're refused, right? On the contrary, because he doesn't rely at all on his strength, but only on prayer to God the Father who listens to him. So that's basically what we're going to see tonight. So I put this title of this psalm, the second song of the Incarnate Son, path of peace, mingled with instruction to rebellious mankind. So here, to start with, we have also a superscription, which reads, he who makes, did I open the recording? Yes. He who makes final victory possible through the power of music, a vineyard song of David. So, he who makes final victory possible, right? Bin giyot, limnatseach bin giyot. And this is, Gregory of Nyssa says, it's the beginning of the victory, which we are celebrating in this prayer. And then there's this, through the power of music. So it's mismo, it's, there's mismo, yeah, it's a song, and this song goes with the expression in Hebrew of the vine. So it's a song, it's a vineyard song of David, and we have this very often in the Psalter. And so, right. And with respect to this praying with the power of music and a song, right? This title, which we have very often, is echoes in the second book of Kings, chapter 3, verse 15, that speaks about a lyre player. And when the lyre player played, the Lord's hand came and the Lord spoke his prophecy. And so we have a lot of psalms that have that title, right? When the lyre player played, the Lord's hand came and the Lord spoke. And so that's what we're going to hear tonight through the Messiah. So we can go forward now. And as you see, there are different colors because we have a central group from verse 4 to verse 6. And this verse 4 and 6, we're going to see there's little numbers in the lower bottom, and there's 7 imperatives at the center of this psalm. And where with this authority, right, the Messiah is seeking a path of conversion to the rebellious. But let's now follow step by step the different parts of the psalm. And the psalm starts with the prayer. It's what is in rows, and finishes with a prayer, which is in rows. And but in between is this confrontation with rebellious humanity. So let's start looking at the opening prayer. It says my internet connection is unstable. I don't know what to do, but I hope you can hear. So here, let's start the opening address with verse 2. At the time of my cry of prayer, Eloah, who closely cares for my rights, answers me. So Eloah is sort of my defense attorney. And he is, St. John Chrysostom says, he answers me, not partially, but perfectly and totally. That's the idea. At the time of my cry of prayer, Eloah answers me perfectly and totally, and for my rights. And then there's the third line. In time of oppressing distress, you have put me at large. So this is the condition in which the Messiah is, and which is already very close to the condition of the Messiah in Psalm 2 and Psalm 3. In times of oppressing distress, you have put me at large. So oppressing distress is when I was cramped, narrow, squeezed. Then you put me at large. You gave me room. Origen says, you granted me greatness of soul at the time of oppressing distress. So that's, we're entering into the interior life of the Messiah. And this wonderful thanksgiving of a God, of an Eloah who's a liberator of the poorest. And he sets himself among the poorest. And but with total confidence. The last line of the first address. Now be merciful to me, and hear as my prayer rises to you. He's not so much having an intercession where he wants God to have specifically answer a request, right? He wants mercy for simply that God hear his rising prayer. And so this gratuitous, humble, confident prayer, you're going to take care of me. I suffice with rising my prayer. What a beautiful introduction to all our prayers, this first address. But then if we follow the dynamic of the psalm, we have a change of persons to whom the man of prayer speaks in the blue, and questioning, sons of men, how much longer will it be that you belittle my glory? Love what is empty, seek what is deceptive. Sila. So this expression, sons of men, indicates a universal address to the whole human race. It is not the same vocabulary as son of man, which is ben Adam. Here it's bene ish. Ben Adam is what Daniel speaks about, the Son of Man who's going to appear in glory, right? Bene ish is, but bene ish, in a number of Psalms, in fact, I can tell you in Psalm 49 and Psalm 62, appears with Ben Adam. And what's the difference when they're put in parallel, right? It's Ben Adam is the one man in his humble Adamic state of coming from the earth. And Ben Enosh is rather the man of condition. And so remember in Psalm 2, we had the kings and rulers of this world. And so he's addressing those who were revolting in Psalm 2 to him. But it's also even more universal. We are all these men of condition who have our prerogatives in front of God. And to whom the Messiah says, how much longer will it be that you belittle my glory? This, in the Greek translation of the Septuagint of the Psalm, it is changed into how much longer do you have a heavy heart? Because the kivudi is my glory or my weightiness, my heaviness of value. But if we look carefully at Scripture, the expression kivudi, which is my glory, right, and especially in the Psalms, it's appropriated to God Himself. For example, in Psalm 3, our preceding psalm, right, we had, you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory, and the lifter of my head. And this is just after, right? So it's he's speaking totally with total assurance in the name of God, and belittling him is belittling God's glory. And so we see in these psalms that if when you look at them carefully, who is speaking in these psalms? First, Messiah. Second, David, in the name of Messiah. And third, each of us. But when we understand the psalm, we should go through that process. First, understand how the Messiah prays it, especially deep psalm. And then how David prays it, and then how we praise it. So, but tonight, and the most important, is how the Messiah prays it, right? We want to enter into the prayer of the Messiah. So, you belittle my glory, and we have, for example, in Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11, my people have changed their glory for what is worthless, because their glory is in reality my glory, right? And that's repeated also in Psalms, right? They exchanged their glory for a grass-eating ox in Psalm 106. So, what's this? This not understanding that my glory is appropriated first God, right? As Psalms 3 says, God is a shield about me, my glory, and the lifter of my head. And what's added is Why love what is empty, seek what is deceptive? So that's an expression which you can translate it. How much longer are you going to be idolatrous? So, and this triple expression, right? Belittle my glory, love what is empty, seek what is deceptive, is expression of exasperation. We have in the Gospels a couple times when Jesus is exasperated. Right? How long you're going to be deaf to what I'm teaching? Well, this is already here in the Psalm. And so after there's a sila, a silence, so a silence to lead me into a real conversion. So let's take a little more of silence, right? Remembering that we have the Messiah saying to us, to me, you belittle my glory, love what is empty, and seek what is deceptive. Selah. So am I going to open up to conversion? That's the question. By myself, I think we can all say, I'm incapable. But precisely we have the center of this psalm, which is what in orange and yellow, right? Which is the Messiah's guidance. How do we proceed for conversion, right? It goes from verse 4 to verse 6, and it's a progressive 7 imperatives, right? So I have a path of conversion which the Messiah is proposing to this, to me. So let's go. He is the one defending me and giving me this chart of conversion. Okay, so what do we have? First, know this. Truly the Lord sets apart marvelously the covenant lover praying to him. So here, the covenant lover is Hasid. Huh? We have this 25 times in the Psalms, and it's related to Hesed, which we have 125 times in the Psalm. Right? It's an essential element that enters in the composition of the Psalm, and it's talking about the Hesed is the irreversible covenant love of God. And so the Hasid is the one who's who enters into being transparent of the irreversible covenant love of God. And in the rest of the Bible, in the Psalter, Hasid and Hesed are really attributed to God. In the rest of the Old Testament, there's about half and half. Hesed can be attributed to man. Right? But the Psalms, the prayer, is one where we are Hesed is each time meeting the essential attribute of God. So truly the Lord sets apart. So setting apart is it's the same thing. God sets apart Israel among all the nations of the world. Same word, right? But he sets apart his Hasid, his just man. And Uh, and this just man who has this quality of having full confidence before God, and he he is sure that God knows those who are faithful to him. So the last line of this little first part of the first imperative, the Lord hears when I call to him. And okay. I just want to read to you what Moses says at the end of the book of Exodus, chapter 33:16, which says, he's already prefiguring the Messiah. Exodus, how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? Is it not in your going with us, so that we are distinct, that we are set apart, I and your people, from all other people that are upon the face of the earth? So this Moses' conscience is the first proponent of this being set apart as covenant lover. But this final, the Lord hears when I call to him, is as a covenant lover, it's the same time in the fragility of the human condition, where it's exactly the opposite of idolatry, right? Always this open dependence to God. So after this introductory imperative, are you going to know, right, this setting apart of the privileged ones, of the faithful of God? Then we get the 6 other imperatives. And first, tremble in the depths of your being. This is taken by, I was surprised by St. Augustine, right? He says, yeah, tremble in the being and in the presence of the one who is. And it's this sense that recognize the infinite distance in between you and God. Tremble in the depths of your being. That's the start of the path of conversion. After knowing that God sets apart, right, is faithful. And then he says, sin no more. Because in this situation of oppressing distress, right, there's always the danger of growing rather in revolt. So stop disagreeing with the voice of your conscience. Okay, sin no more. Second entrance into conversion. But then we have the heart of the psalm, which is what is in yellow in the middle. And that's the next 2 imperatives, right? One is conversion goes with entering into interior life. Let me read. Speak words within your hearts upon your beds, and so enter into silence. So, speak words within your hearts. So this is again a great theme. The theme of the heart is very common in the psalm. We have 136 times heart in the psalms, and the heart means it's a whole complex. It's a place of emotions, of wisdom, of deep will. And so why do we have this surprising addition, upon your beds? So the bed can have all sorts of connotations in the Bible and even in the Psalms. Right? And, but here we can say, in the context of this psalm, rereading it, I would say, here the bed it's an antechamber to heaven, a place of pre-experimentation, of deepening, a place of religious awe. Right? But here, it's for the sinner to meditate. Speak words within your heart. You have just heard, tremble in front of the infinite distance between you and God. Sin no more. Speak words within your hearts. Meditate on this situation, right? And that it goes all the way into the depths of your being, and that you no longer be the victim of your passions. So this is, and it's complemented there. And so enter into silence. Renounce sin by silencing all these evil thoughts and submit to the silence. And this is at the heart of your conversion. And there's Sila. So let's take a moment of silence for a journey to the way of inner meditation. Well, I just read what the Psalm said. Speak words within your hearts upon your beds, and so enter into silence. Selah. So let me share to you what a Jewish rabbi said about this. About the fact that this central verse is one of sort of abstinence from. He says this: you must abstain from sin, from the sin you may commit, as if God were saying to you, I will take into account your abstention, as if you had built an altar and offered a burnt offering or many other sacrifices on it. So our conversion is first this entering into this abstention. I hope you're going to follow the counsels of the Messiah. But then you can go forward, right, into the verse 6. Sacrifice righteous sacrifices. So what is that? It's exactly the same word at the very end of the Deuteronomy, which is the end of the Pentateuch, right? The great, it is said, on the mountain, the people will come here to pray. They will sacrifice righteous sacrifices. So that's the result of following the Torah, which was conveyed to us in Psalm 1. And and an ascending worship, right? And then turn here turn in full confidence toward the Lord who answers. Full confidence, we can say, it's wait, where did I write? Full confidence is an essential trait of which is repeated over and over in the Psalms, right? Have trust, have confidence, because it's with that we can we we are really entrusted to God's work on us, and so this sort of closes our effort of conversion, which is the verses 4 to 6. So when you go back to it, you have the numbers there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So go through the 7 steps of conversion if you want to live this Lent seriously. But the question is that we remain rebellious. And so the psalmist here, the Messiah, comes back to speak about the rebellious people. And here he quotes, we could say, he's already starting to turn towards God. But he starts by putting his situation. We can think of Jesus. He puts his situation before the Father as he approaches his passion, death, and resurrection. Right? Many speak thus: who will give us to see some tangible good? We can think of Jesus, who heard so. Give us a sign, a tangible sign, right? Who will? This is what the people say. And then raise up for us a sign that we recognize the light of your face on us. This verse in Hebrew is double-faced. We can put it as a description of the rebellious people who are in every way seeking to always have a sign as a priority. But it can also be this entrance into the positive, right? We want to see the light of your face, O Lord. So, but as we know, those who want to see the light of God's face cannot. That face cannot be seen without dying. So, I would say when I look at the construction of the psalm, this second line of verse 7, right, is much more staying in the idea that the people remain fundamentally within the framework of idolatry, wanting to reduce God to the visible. And when they hear, for example, the blessing of the priest, may God make his face shine on you, right? They want a visible expression of it. Whereas we could say that the gist of the whole Gospel of John, right, is that is to believe, right, and that that's the way that we enter into true, real communion with God. But Jesus struggles with that, right? In Matthew chapter 16, an evil and unfaithful generation seeks a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. And this psalm also says, no sign will be given to you. So, but at the same time, asking for a sign has a connotation of asking for the Messiah. But we see many speak thus to the Messiah, speaking in this in this psalm, right? You can't be you cannot be the Messiah, but raise up for us a sign that we can recognize the light of God's face. And so that's the background of Jesus going back to address his Father with, there's this beautiful introductory address in verse 2 of this psalm, and then we have the final verses, which are the even more beautiful conclusive address, right? And where we have God's intangible reality put on the forefront. And that is expressed right away in verse 8, which we have, which is the first in pink again. O Lord, already you have put greater joy in my heart than they have with abundant corn and new wine. So they have joy of men harvesting a surplus of wheat and wine and placing security in their crops, in what man can master apart from God. That's their great joy. But I have a greater joy in my heart, an inner joy, one that is not directly visible, but in my inside life. And this this little verse here has it's one of the highlights of the whole Psalter, which is re-echoed in the highlight of the first psalm of the fourth book of the Psalter, of the third book of the Psalter, Psalm 73. Let me read verse 17 and the end. I go into the holiness of El in Psalm 73. I comprehend the future of men, and I am always with you. You hold my right hand. By your counsel you guide me, and after that to glory you lead me. Who is for me in the heavens? And with you I desire nothing on earth. They yearn my body and my heart, rock of my heart and my portion, Elohim for eternity. For me to be near Elohim, for me is good. I said in Adonai, Lord, my trust, to proclaim all your works. All this is Psalm 73. It's an expansion of this verse 8 of Psalm 4, and which we could say is the high point, spiritual high point of the whole Psalter, and joining the high point of Jesus's interior life of prayer. But he continues with the first line of verse 9, where we have, in peace, keeping inner unity, I lie down and sleep at once. So we have the peace of the Hasid, who goes to bed with a clear conscience. He immediately falls asleep in confidence. And it's in contrast with the rebellious one, who in verse 5, right, is asked to go and speak words within your heart, to meditate upon your failings, upon your beds, right? And there's no going to sleep. There's trying to resolve in the central verse of the whole psalm. Please resolve, right, these evil thoughts in you upon your beds, and enter into silence, enter into abstention, we heard, the Jews cries out. So, and here we have the same word as beds, bed in the central verse, 5. It's the same root which we have here in lie down in verse 9. So let me quote to you Isaiah chapter 42, verse 14, which echoes this whole in peace, keeping inner unity, I lie down and sleep at once. Isaiah says in chapter 42, verse 14, for a long time I have held my peace. I have kept still and restrained myself. And now I am like a woman with labor pains. So it's this beautiful reality of becoming fruitful through this inner unity and peace. And keeping inner unity, because here in Hebrew, it's Yahadu, Yahadav. Where do I have it? Yahadav. Huh? It's keeping the unity of God in peace, keeping I lie down and sleep at once. What a beautiful verse. The first line of chapter 9, of verse 9. And then the conclusive verse of our Psalm 3. Truly you, O Lord, grant that I in solitude, fully confident in you, be given a permanent dwelling place. So, I make a profession of trust, which we already had in Psalm 3, where I lie down and sleep, and I fear no more. So a peace of conscience coming from full confidence in God alone. So we have, it's at the same time a this fully confident in you, right? It's at the same time something subjective, right? Of the core of interpersonal relationship between the faithful and God. But at the same time, it's also right the objective, right, of confidence in the one in whom we believe. So we can say, believing in and believing that, right? Believing in God and believing that God is God. And there we have this beautiful last line. Truly, you grant that I be given a permanent dwelling place. So we can think of the whole dynamic of the Old Testament, right? Where for Israel, God is leading them to the promised land, which is only a prefiguration of the permanent dwelling place. But individually for each of us, right? We can think of the importance of Jesus, right? Who goes to prepare a place for us in heaven, right? A permanent dwelling place. And it's one where in solitude and fully confident you, it's a unique personal creature God, man God relationship. So let me read what is also said at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, conclusive, right? Chapter 33, verse 28. Blessed are you, O Israel. Who is like you? And Israel dwells in full confidence. Same word as here. The fountain of Jacob in solitude. Same word as here. In a land of grain and wine. Same as here. And the conclusion in Deuteronomy, yes, God's heavens drop down dew. So that's where we are at the end of this psalm, right? We're under the drops of dew from heaven. And this is, so what a great psalm this is. So maybe we have a few minutes now, and I hope there can be questions and that we can, you can unmute yourself. And I can only encourage you, like the preceding psalms, right? Become familiar with it. And tell me how can I help you become more familiar with this Psalm 4?
I have a question about in verse 3, that phrase that you translated sons of men, and you said it was what is it,
Yeah. How much longer?
what is it in Hebrew?
Oh, and wait, sons of men is bene ish.
Yeah, so I was wondering that when you said that, I was just wondering if the in the it's the is it the Aramaic portions of Daniel and
Yes,
that phrase bar anasha
yes,
for for that's like when he comes on the clouds, right?
yes, yes, yes,
Is that correct? Is
yes.
that related? Because
No,
obviously it's Aramaic, but that sounds like it would be
it's
more related to that
it's
than to Adam.
yeah. It sounds close. Enosh in Aramaic sounds close to ish
Yeah.
in Hebrew, but uh, it's the correct translation is Adam in Hebrew, right? Enosh in Aramaic, right?
Oh,
Covers
okay. Oh,
Adam.
interesting.
So it's but yeah, and uh, there's this confusion. We're not in mathematics when we're in the Bible, right? There's multiple registers, right? But I would say the first, what's important here is that the first register of Bene Ish here is not an allusion to Daniel, the Son of Man. It's really an allusion, rather an allusion to the other Psalms where you have Bene Ish, which is translated often about men of condition. And it's those who have developed earthly stature. And we could say that all of us
Okay.
have done that.
What would be another way of saying?
Man of condition. Yeah, we don't have. I'm asked here. Man of condition in is a number of Bibles use that translation because it's the only way to make sense of a verse. But there's not. There's just bene ish, and there's not other other expressions, right? For man of condition, you don't have to. yeah, you don't have special qualitatives of that, right? But you can go and look up in Psalm 49, which is just two psalms before the Miserere, right? And you see the whole play is on men of condition who want to have put your names on your properties, you know, right? But you're going to die like anybody, right? So that's the Bene Ish. But it does cover
Thank you.
the Ish of Psalm 1, right? Psalm 1 starts with Ashrei Aish Asher. Blessed is the man who goes forward, not in the way of the wicked. Okay. So let me give you to listen to the psalm in Hebrew, right? And I'll try with the cursor. I hope you see the cursor. I don't know if you see it, but anyway, maybe I'll with my finger. I will.
We can see the cursor move on the screen when
Okay,
you move it.
okay. So Bekorianeni Elohe Tzidki Batzar Hirhavtali Honeni Ushma Tefilati Bene Ish Adme Kevodi Liklima Te Avunrik Te Vakshu Kazav Selah. Udu ki hifla Hashem hasidlo Hashem ishma bekori elav rigzu ve'al techeta'u imru bilvavkem al mishkavkem vedo Selah. Tivhu tzive tzedek uvitchu el Hashem. Rabim omrim biyarenu tov nesa alenu or panecha. Hashem natata simcha velibi met deganam vetirosham rabu בשלום יחדיו אשכבה ואישן. כי אתה השם לבדד לבטח תושיבני. So we conclude here, and unless there's any other question you would wish. Okay, so let me bless you. And, using this little verse in the positive sense, which we have, right? May the Lord bless you and make his light shine upon you and bring you his peace. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Father.